In a world after North Korea has gone mad, but we got even madder, nothing is left except these recorded broadcasts of the Med City Movie Guy. The Med City Movie Guy, co-starring Chris McSannick.
Oh, co-starring? You gotta be
Okay, starring Chris McSannick. The egos I have to work with in this job.
Med City Movie Guy. I'm here with Ted Schmidt, the preeminent. Is preeminent too much?
That's big. That's a lot.
So I'll just say you're eminent, okay?
Eminent, okay.
So eminent meteorologist, part of the Emmy award-winning, right? Part of Morning Team.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. And you've been on KTTC since 1999.
Yeah.
And
goes way back.
I don't know how long it's been with KXLT. Is that?
Well, we started Fox in the Morning in 2014. So we just had our 3-year anniversary a few weeks ago. Had cake and stuff like that.
Oh,
and
cake,
celebrate
yeah.
3 years of survival, still going strong. But we've been partnered with Fox 47 overall since 2001. KTTC and Fox 47. But yeah, the Fox in the Morning was more of a new morning venture to get something going with the morning side of things with Fox.
I remember coming in here and they were building the sets and they were very nice.
Yeah, nice view of the city behind us.
Nice view of the city.
It's always sunny. I like that.
And plywood. It's plywood and not just that particle board I saw.
Yeah, it's not like your crazy uncle's basement, who still has the faux panels from 1974.
It's funny how you said that, because that's what my wife always says about projects. She says, don't do an Uncle Henry job on this, man. He's got junk. Anyway, we'll do some
beanbag chairs and stuff like that.
We'll do some editing here to tighten it up. But anyway, okay. Hey, but before I get too far, I got to ask you, meteorologically, is that the word?
Yeah.
I have to sound it out. Meteorologically speaking, how accurate was Sharknado? I
would say, there were parts of it that were plausible. Most of it's probably just ridiculous. But I mean, I'm thinking if a tornado picked up a shark, I don't know if the shark would survive. I still don't think it would be able to bounce back and do stuff like that.
They're pretty resilient, though.
But I've heard about fish being sucked up by tornadoes. Not sharks, but like crappies and stuff like that.
Crappies. So you pronounce it crappie. From where I come from, we used to pronounce it crappie, but that's not.
No, those are my fishing skills.
Fishing skills. So, but is it actually called a tornado though on water? I always thought it would be a hurricane on water.
Well, no. If it goes over water, it's a water spout. I mean, technically, there's a term there, and it's kind of a gray area. But
so it could be like a shark. The movie's been called Shark Spout something.
Spoutnado, shark. Yeah.
I like all those versions.
Spout.
You're originally from, is it Sherrard?
Sherrard, Illinois, yeah.
Sherrard, Illinois. Yeah. I did some searching, did my homework. This is something I never was able to say through grade school or high school that I did my homework, but I did do my homework for today. I found nobody famous from that town, except you, excuse me, the eminent. But from nearby Moline, who's famous for Moline?
Ken Berry.
Ken Berry. Wow, that's embarrassing that's the best we could come up with. And I looked hard.
F Troop, that was a top shelf show. Reruns as a kid, it was way before my time, but I used to watch that and Larry Storch. I mean, those two get together. I mean, you put those guys in any show.
Forget about it.
And it's automatic success, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And also from nearby Rock Island.
Yeah.
Some movie stars. Do you know of any off the top of your head? Can you think of them? Two big ones. One big one, excuse me. I'll give you a clue. He was in The Longest Yard. And Green Acres.
Eddie Alpert?
Eddie Alpert from Rock Island.
Boy, again, way before my time. I was born in Rock Island.
Oh, you were actually born in Rock Island?
I was born in Franciscan Hospital as in Rock Island. Yeah, I wasn't actually born in the country. Sherrard is a country town. It's 700 people. So not many people are actually born anymore in Sherrard. I'm sure they were back in the day.
Gotcha.
But since even when I was born in the 70s, they had technology and you could ambulance drive you in to actual hospitals. They weren't
indoor plumbing and all that.
Yeah, indoor plumbing. They introduced that just before I was born.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. SIU alum. I didn't know that. My brother went to SIU a long time ago. So Carbondale's also famous for a few movie types. Can you think of any of them?
Oh boy, that's a tough. Well, Dennis Franz.
Dennis Franz, Die Hard 2. Yes, very good.
His picture is on the wall in the communications building.
Did he go to school there too?
He did. I don't think he graduated. He's one of those guys who honed his skills and then
There you go, and moved on.
And it took the Conestoga wagon out west.
That's awesome, though,
And,
that you knew that and that there's a photo. That
Yeah.
So
cool.
did it motivate the communication?
It kind of like, well, we can do something. This is legitimate, operation.
It can happen.
Yeah.
No, that's inspiring. Two other people. One that's pretty much known for Chicago type. I'll give you the clue. I'll give you a couple movie clues. You tell me. She was in. It's a she. JFK. She was the voice of Andy's mother in all the Toy Story movies. She was in Uncle Buck, but most famous for her TV role opposite Roseanne. It is Laurie Metcalf is also.
Okay, I guess some of this was familiar, but that's
And then the last name you'd probably never get, but it's an actor named Ben Falcone. Do you know that name?
No.
Ben Falcone's from Carbondale. He is famous for, just like Tom Arnold is famous for being Roseanne's husband, Ben Falcone is famous for being, on his own, he's been in the movie Spy, co-starring, very famous. No? No? Comedian? No? So Ben Falcone, of course, is the husband of Melissa McCarthy. And she's from the Chicago area, from just outside of Chicago. And Ben Falcone's been in Spy, Bridesmaids, small roles, and in a movie called Bad Words. Did you ever see this movie? It's about a spelling bee. It's a hysterical movie.
Oh my goodness, no. I was in a spelling bee one time.
Oh, how'd you do?
I won 8th grade.
You won. I was just going to ask what stumped you, but you won.
Yeah, I won for our school, and I got to go to the regional thing.
What was the word that you won with? Do you remember?
Oh man, actually I don't. I just know the one I got wrong.
What was
in the regional? It was pirouette. There are 2 R's in pirouette. So now I know. But.
All right. Well, okay. So switching back to films now. I don't bother asking people what their favorite film is because that usually stumps them. But what I'll say is, what movie have you seen the most times?
Oh, boy. I'd say Star Wars.
Star Wars, the first Star Wars.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Episode 4.
Star Wars, but a close second, if not tied, is probably Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Uh-huh.
Those two were big when I was a little kid, and we had them on VHS. Those are like 2 of the first movies we bought, so I watched them so many times. Partially because those were the only 2 movies we had for a while there. But they were great. I never got tired of them. Still not tired of them. The good movies.
That's awesome. What was the last movie you saw? DVD, VHS, in the theaters, whatever. What's the last movie you saw, most recently?
This is going to be slightly embarrassing.
Don't tell me it's 50 Shades of Grey again.
No, it was the one before that. No, it was Rogue One.
Oh, Rogue One, okay.
I mean, when you have little kids, it's like you got to pick your battles. Okay, you got to either see the movie with the kids or find a babysitter to watch them when I'm seeing the movie, which doubles the price of the night. And then you have to find one that you agree with your wife. And we never agree in movies. So it's got to be something really special. And apparently, in that Rogue One, I actually saw it with my co-anchor, Jacob.
Oh, okay.
Which is easier, right? We found a movie we liked and saw a matinee.
Oh, well, on your hours, you probably have to, right? This is...
Most movies, I like matinees, Then I go home and take a nap.
Sure. Or if the movie's bad, Well, okay, so let me just jump ahead. Speaking of that, what's your favorite theater, or you're in town? What's your go-to theater in town?
Oh, man, I really like Warenberg.
Now, is that because you live near there?
No, it's the other end of town. It's a drive. Maybe that's why it feels special, because I drive down there. They have the big things, the giant screen, the mega screen, the 3D. I guess I just like it. I think they've got a little more pizzazz. It's kind of fun. I figure if I'm gonna, go see a movie, might as well go see something. Go in a way that I could never experience it at home or anywhere else.
For sure, yeah. Do you have any favorite or any celebrity run-in stories? Have you ever bumped into anybody?
Oh boy, I'm trying to think of anybody. Never got to see Dennis Franz. He doesn't come back to visit Carbondale apparently for whatever reason. The kind of people I run into are the kind of people that only nerdy people get excited about, like Jim Cantore from the Weather Channel, people like that. Ron Santo.
Oh, the baseball player.
Cubs third baseman, Hall of Famer. Met him at spring training a few years ago. Well, many years ago. It was in the 90s. He passed away about 4 or 5 years ago. But
Spring training, so was that in Arizona?
it was in Arizona, yeah.
Okay.
You know, I did. That's my spring break trip.
Uh-huh.
My senior year, I go to spring training in Arizona, down to Mesa.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was beautiful weather.
Before I forget, I also just remember another celebrity from Southern Illinois, not Carbondale, but a town called Benton, which isn't too far from Carbondale. John Malkovich is from Benton.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I only know that. My brother lives in Benton, and for some reason, whenever you hear Benton, like they must know each other because that's a tiny town. All those towns down there are tiny.
Yeah.
New topic, old topic. Which film demonstrates the excitement of meteorology to you? Which film sums it up?
I think Twister.
Twister? I was going to say Twister.
It's intense. It's good. Even now that a lot of that stuff is maybe a little out of date, it's still and not completely realistic in all ways that they're going to come across 6 tornadoes in a day, but it would be amazing. But it really cool though. It's just one of those great movies. The pulse pounding, watching the intensity of the tornadoes and the guy Dusty.
Bill Paxton was the big name. Helen Hunt, and then Philip Seymour Hoffman was also in it. And
yes, that was the guy I'm talking about. He was had a bit role, but he was funny.
Yeah,
I remember that guy.
It's it's amazing. Some of the smallest roles really. Actors probably think that, hey, I've only got a few lines. I really got to do something with them, and they do. A lot of times they do. They really do. And he was great in that. Yeah. Now the other big one I would think would be The Perfect Storm. Do you remember that film?
Oh yeah.
Is it, when you see that movie?
That's not. Yeah, it has meteorological. Obviously, it's all based on meteorological occurrence, but you don't have the science guys on there. It's more of here's science, and now here's a story. And whereas I think Twister to me has science all the way through because the guys are scientists.
The interesting thing about Perfect Storm in the Perfect Storm in the book, they talk a lot about the science of the waves and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
They don't really get into that as much. They talk about the physics of how big a wave could be and all that stuff. Wow, it's an amazing book. Yeah, Twister's a fun one. Okay, I could only find 4 films where there's actually a weatherman as one of the main characters. Can you think of? Well,
The Weatherman, that was with Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage, that's
which
right.
kind of a darker movie. Not
unlike the other couple.
Well, I was going to say, because we saw that as a group one time after they said it was my birthday. And I was like, let's go see a movie. And Ted gets to pack him. Well, we got to go see The Weatherman. And we saw it, and everybody came out of it kind of that's kind of a downer. And I'm I thought it was interesting, but yeah, it was not a happy movie,
2005 that was. So
that makes you feel old. That was a few years ago.
Yeah. So that was here then. So you went with some people from here?
Yeah.
Who else went?
The one who at the time who reminds me all the time of it is Jess. And she's like, "That's the saddest movie I've ever seen. I just felt so bad for those people. That poor man in his life." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, it was sad, but he's a weatherman. It was a story about a guy. He got the behind the scenes life." And I was like, kind of, not that I can relate that much to it. Nobody ever threw a milkshake at me, but
there's more to my life than standing in front of the green screen. There's people have their darker moments.
That's right. We all have our drama.
Two other big ones. Can you think? I can give you the actor.
I love Bill Murray in Groundhog Day. That's one of my all-time favorite movies. I love that movie.
Now that came out.
I've seen that movie probably 17 or 18 times.
Oh, so that would be another one that you've seen many times.
That's up there, definitely.
Now, so were you a weatherman when you saw that movie?
I was in college. So I was actually as a freshman, so I was years away from being a weather guy or on TV in front of a camera or anything like that. I was just starting out doing. So do you view it differently? Like most of us, if you've got a career in something, auto mechanics don't really do that on the screen or whatever. So do you, when you watch the Groundhog Day, do you say, "Man, that's really what it's like," or we don't get to do that? Well, I think a lot of it is. I mean, when he's in front of in their movie, they had a blue screen for a chroma key. But some of that stuff is right. I mean, a lot of it is almost depicting him as like a national type person, like an Al Roker or I'm thinking of Willard Scott. Willard Scott was a personality who gave a couple blurbs about the weather and then talked about Gertrude's 105th birthday. So I mean, you've got it was more of a showman, type thing. And that's why I think Groundhog Day, he goes in front of the camera, talks about the groundhog, and that's how much of that is actually, he doesn't mention the forecast at all in the entire segment there. I was like, well, that's not much of a weather gig there, or not very weather related, but no, but it's fun though.
And the last one, 1991, Steve Martin.
No, I guess I missed that.
He was a weatherman in L.A. Story.
Oh.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes these characters, though, their occupation is sort of secondary to what the movie's all about. I just thought I would throw that out there. That's where he keeps driving by a billboard, and it keeps kind of encouraging him to meet this woman and things like that. So.
Oh, I never saw that one.
Okay. Arguably, Bruce Almighty, some people think he was the weatherman, but there was a weatherman, and he was...
The ultimate weatherman. God, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's why he gets mad.
Well, yeah. Weather guys get mad sometimes, too.
Yeah, well, weather guys get mad. The people who make their plans based on what the weather guy says.
Oh, I know.
They get mad, too.
Oh, yeah. Your share of anger every so often. Sure.
So when you're in a theater, popcorn? You get popcorn?
My go-to, for whatever reason, I've never been a huge popcorn guy. My dad was, and my wife is. I always get Twizzlers or Junior Mints. Mm-hmm. Sometimes both, if it's a long movie.
Interesting.
Got to be armed.
But no popcorn.
Not usually. No, I don't go crazy for it. I really like, especially Twizzlers. I go through a bag of that in like the first 9 minutes of the movie, and I'm like, oh, I should have gotten the big one. Oh. But
I think everybody goes through everything. There's one of these graphics floating around on the internet where it's like it sort of shows a chart of like how far into the movie or only even into the trailers have you gone through like half the popcorn, and that happens I think with everybody.
Yeah.
So have you ever snuck anything in? You say Twizzlers. Do you sneak your Twizzlers in?
I was actually, we call this nowadays that I'm old enough, I can call it youthful indiscretion.
Youthful indiscretion.
I was a minor at the time, and I was not necessarily, I was just going with the flow. Our neighbor, and who was my friend, and his dad took us. And he was like, don't pay those prices. We're going to stop at Hy-Vee and we're going to get some candy bars. He was from New York. He's Bronx. He had the accent. He drove a big green Ram van. We're going to go to the van. We're going to stop at the store and then we go to the movie. So we had to load your pockets. We all had grabbed a couple of candy bars, bought our candy bars, put them in our pockets, and went in. It was kind of funny. I'm like, okay.
But those were youthful indiscretions.
I was like 9 or 10. I was the youngest because it was my brother and this guy, Josh was his name, and they were a couple of years older than me. So I was like, the little kid going, okay, where are we going? Okay, whatever, guys, okay, But I would never have thought to do something like that on my own. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, but sometimes those prices, they really make people do things that they might not normally do. It's like, normally, I don't know, but $5.50 for a Coke.
Or like telling the guy at the counter that your kid is still under 12.
Yeah. Well,
Duck down now. You're not 12, right?
I got to be honest. That's where I draw the line. Because as a kid, I used to always have to fake being really young.
Yeah.
And I would always, I'm not under 6, and then my mom would crack me and things like that. So that one I don't feel comfortable with. But I think we've all, okay, one of the last things I want to talk about is this happens to be one of the worst box office seasons of the whole year.
So I'm not alone in missing.
So no, you're apparently not alone in missing. And nobody can really put their finger on why that is. A lot of people say, well, Hollywood's creating junk, but a lot of the content that gets created is going on to Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu. All these people are creating content. It's amazing the big names that are doing the small screen. The film industry might not be doing well as a whole. Okay. But so my question to you is, what film do you think they need to make? What is a film in your mind that would say that would get me out there?
Oh boy.
Is there a favorite star?
Well, anything with Christopher Walken.
You're a Christopher Walken fan.
I love Christopher Walken. Okay. He's made a couple of good movies. I don't always like his movies. I mean, he's great. Saturday Night Live host, though. He is the bomb. He's my favorite host of all time. But gotta love the Continental. Have some more champagne.
Champagne.
Yeah. If you get him, like, if you get like a Star Wars movie, if you can marry those together, like Star Wars with Christopher Walken, that's a must see. And that I would probably, go opening day, and I would like dress up as Darth Vader. I want to be one of those guys, but like Christopher Walken, Darth Vader, or something like that.
That would be worth seeing. I mean, not the movie, but to see you dressed up like that.
I don't know how you get that all together, or if he was like Luke Skywalker, his half brother or something like that.
His half brother, his institutional eye. All right. Well, we'll leave it on that note then. So, Ted Schmidt, again, thanks for visiting with us.
No, it's my pleasure.